And then, so this is a restoration of rights webinar training session specifically for habeas corpus and comprehending the mechanics of this commercial system, which people seem to be missing, which is why they fold. So this is us trying to get everybody's mind into a place where you fully comprehend what is habeas corpus, first of all, and how it is applied. Obviously, everything that we've done has been trial and error, and this is only through many years of practicing various methods in various ways that we got to universal law and put our trust in that. So these are just the remnants really of the administrative system and how you minister it. It's everybody's responsible for whether they accept the administrative system as fact or they rebut it for the presumption that it is. And if people don't have that comprehension of the mechanics of it, then it can be very daunting, because you know normally you would, that's why you instruct a lawyer, because you've been kept in the dark about these things. And this is just an attempt really to try to make it much more clearer for people, to give them that standing. So we were just looking at a Part 8 document. So a habeas corpus writ, or an application rather for a writ of habeas corpus, is done on a Part 8 document, which is, I think it's top of my head, their reference number is N206. So I'm just waiting for my laptop.
Mine says N208.
N208. Oh yeah, the N206 is the evidence of life form, isn't it? These are all part of a series of court forms, and it's quite telling that the evidence of life form, and they all start with the 20, they actually change them to CFC, court fund account claim, court fund claim set of documents, which you can all go and have a look on that. So we're looking for an N208 form or a Part 8. They're known as Part 8. We want to, very kind of the government to put it on the website there for us, makes it nice and simple, because it really is do it yourself. And people going on about leaders and people keeping other people in the dark regarding various steps that we do. It's all there, you know. This is self-taught material. This is all done by practice. If somebody's got a more effective way of doing it, who are we to argue? So here, this is what we've been doing for quite some time now. And we've just got one that somebody's taken the information from the template that's up on Facebook and applied it in advance. So now what I would all suggest everybody does is have if you're going in any time, you know, you never know when you might be unlawfully incarcerated these days for any kind of whim, because there is no law in our countries anymore. It's made up as it goes along. It depends on the comprehension of the not legally trained policy enforcers, which for me, if you're not legally trained, then you shouldn't be forcing policy that you're not trained in, because how can you possibly be effective in your job? And this is obviously where the People's Protection Patrol and the Ministry of Remedy has come about, because it warrants our society, because it hasn't got this as a standing, as a method of lawful remedy anymore. It's our obligation to create it. So it's not, somebody had said about as if they're going to give you all of the law writing ability. The law is the law. Nobody, the problem is writing it. It creates adding to the administration of the law, which everybody knows what the law is: cause no loss, harm or damage. That's it. That's it. You have to write that down. It's written in your soul. You know what you're doing. You know if you're causing somebody loss, harm, or damage. And that's what we would call a conscience. What we've done is we've overridden our consciences and granted and assigned the ministering of our minds to these Nazi, whatever you want to call them, terrorists who have then gone and appointed themselves our governors. Well, unless we really are unlawfully incarcerated, then we wouldn't have a governor, would we? We wouldn't have a chief attorney general. We wouldn't have this presumption that we've got that we're all trying to operate within. So this is, first of all, habeas corpus. What does it mean in Latin? Well, it depends which book you read, obviously, which dictionary you read. If you split it up with just simple words that you already know, to inhabit something means to live in. So a lived in corpse. It's not a very nice thing to be referring to, but normally, because you're using a legal fiction, so normally in those boxes would be the legal fictions going in there, and that is granting the authority to them to sit there and determine what do we do with this, how much money can we make out of it. They've already used the legal fictions that are copyrighted by the administration system anyway, so they can take their time and launder the accounts. Obviously, because of our comprehension of that, and the fact that anybody who's using a Minister MFN warranty card who has assigned their consent back to themselves has immediately rebutted the presumption that Crown Corporation has got any equitable rights for them to launder. So I would draw a line down your page and I'd put habeas corpus on one side and I'd put the mechanics of the corporation, the corporate system, commercial intercourse on the other. Because what you're going to do is compare if the actions and the deeds that you take in the habeas corpus column and the losses. What you're doing is we're going to work out the mechanics of what it is that this does to their profit margin. How do you affect a corporation, a company? How do they affect you as you pretend to be a corporation or a company? They lay charges against you and they charge your asset. So I don't know if yourselves, I mean, I know the people who are in this training, but the people who are probably listening, once this has gone out, about the fact that your rights have been halved. Once in a title, there's title, if you draw a line down the middle of it, there's title and there's public and then there's private. So what you're actually doing is when you use that legal fiction, you are assigning all that you don't even know that you are into the back of the birth certificate. So if you imagine an account, put a circle on the screen, that's your credit file, referred to as a credit file. It's all there right in your face. And you've put your equity, all that you are behind that legal fiction. Now, then when they ask you who you are, then obviously that copyrighted logo that you think is your name is no longer, which is no longer your name. Last name first, first name last, as you know, creates the fraud because you have not got the right of use of that copyrighted logo. So so first off, with habeas corpus, it's the only time that I am aware of that anybody else can lay a claim on behalf of somebody else. Now, it also has, if you read the CPR rules, now we used this in the recording that we did with the Ministry of Remedy, because we have the CPR as a, I don't want to call it what it is because you'll say that I'm really rude, but because we have this as legislation, as policy, you've got to remember it's company policy. It's the policy of Crown Corporation, HM government, agents thereof. Now, you've got a choice at this point. Am I going to sign my consent to be an employee of that company, or am I going to stand in my unalienable state? So the claimant is very important. Now, if you use the legal fiction in there immediately, that is joinder. They can take as long as they like, and obviously we know that because we've tried this so many different ways now. The final one was really the perfected one, that had a 24-hour turnaround, and the court holding 5 sessions trying to get the guy to joinder. So inside the claimant's box, you are putting in there that the party or the being misrepresented as the legal fiction known to us as Minister Van 1799, for example. Currently held at, you can put location unknown. You don't actually have to know where that individual is, because the truth of the matter is, it's the CPR regulations and the administrative system that is causing the unlawful incarceration, like I just said, of us all. And because we've got to go through this administrative system in order for us to be able to achieve our so-called lawful remedy, because we have to, or so we think, use that legal fiction, we never get there. We're just in like a void, just going around and around in this pot of laundry service that they're using, whether it's your energy and sending the emails, whether it's you running up and down to the court, whether it's you sitting inside the prison and they're trying to take your, trying to milk your rights and equitable assets. That, you know, that's the whole purpose of this. So when you look on the next column now on the mechanics of it, if you don't do that, if you don't use that legal fiction, then they haven't got any pot to launder. They cannot initiate anything. The most that they can do, which is what I actually expected them to do yesterday, it feels like yesterday, in the last case, was to remand the Emma Ben for a court date, because you never ever answer a plea in a magistrate's court. You demur it. Now, we did some videos about this. Demur comes from the Greek word demurgia, which is create. So you are demurring it. So what you're actually doing is, if you said, oh, well, I'm not guilty, you've joined it unconsciously with the legal fiction by answering their claim. And so when you're in the court, you've got absolutely nothing to say to these terrorists, have you? We don't negotiate with terrorists, that's it. So what you have instead is the assignment of consent, which is you and your trust speaking to you about your trust and about that, the fact that you've signed it into universal law, and that Minister Emma Ben is the liability holder in due course. So what you're giving them there is an empty credit file. They haven't got the right use of Emma Ben. They cannot use Minister Emma Ben. And when they do try to use it, well, it just collapses their whole process there. The whole thing is down. They cannot arrest you now that you have set a precedence in your country to exemplify the losses that they will incur as a company. The underwriters of the company, which were you, are now no longer there, are you? Your assets, the recording that we've got with Stein was very telling. I know that there's videos out there of people going into the court and shouting, bring forth the bond that will indemnify me in this matter. But never have I heard a judge ask you to bring your bond for the indemnification. And the reason why she did that is because she knows through the assignment of consent, they haven't got the bond. They haven't got the equitable rights in order for them to underwrite the process, the procedure, the intercourse. And that's why all she got offered was a debt equity swap. We will discharge the debt in exactly the same way it was created. I could have said many things. One of them is that I hold all of the equitable rights of 22 million accounts as Minister Event. You do too. This is why I laugh when people say, you've got this hierarchy system and you're the leader. I'm not. I was just the first one to do these steps, and here you all are doing the same steps. You are leading yourselves out of the cave, taking the steps, and it is do it yourself. So it's, you know, otherwise it is a government. If you've got somebody telling you what to do, when to do it, setting it up for you, just fill in this document, and oops, slave tokens pop out of the machine. And in the background, I'm milking your credit files, which is what the government's doing. I thought we didn't want that. I thought that was what we were doing here, which is self-determination. So first of all, with self-determination, me a name I call myself, I'm determined myself as Minister Event. That's it. And even though they've taken your fingerprints, and even though they've got your ID out of your pocket, until you say you are that dead thing walking, you are not. And they can't go anywhere with it. They can do their presumption right up until that point, but they need you to do what? Assign your consent to them. So you haven't assigned your consent to anybody at this point because you put it back in your own hands. You haven't spoken to anybody because that can be classed as joinder and contract as well. You have presented a document that has come from you and your comprehension about what is going on, and that you needed to have a trust or trust in something other than a corporation in order for the presumption that you trust them to be dissolved. So when you stand there and say, I'm Minister Event, I hold all the equitable rights of this account, of the creditor, or I'm here on behalf of the one's creditor of that account now retired, you are dissolving their presumption that they need you to make. It's not their presumption. They've just set this system up and said, if you want your legal remedy, here it is. Oh, isn't it about time we set up a system or a structure that says, if you want some lawful remedy, it is. You print off a document off the website, you fill it in, you send it here, and a load of people sit around a table and listen to what you've got to say. And then they decide and determine between themselves what your penalty is. But immediately you're guilty in this system of the administration. So it doesn't matter whether it gets to the point where they say you are charged with blah, blah, blah. First of all, who is you? We all get that. Oh, well, it can't be, I can't be you, can I? I'm me. And just stick with that. Don't even if your mind just goes blank because of all the indoctrination, these people are not even bankers, they're terrorist criminals, they've got no qualification. There's one person in the room who is qualified, and qualified in what? Fraud. She got a certificate in fraud. Don't expect, and so the contempt of court, show me a court, first of all, because this can't be one. And so, of course, I'm going to be in contempt of it. Now, what you've got, obviously, is the evidence of the agents of the administrative system in contempt of themselves by still attempting to force COVID regulations after we've got the recording of Stein stating what she states on there about it being too great a burden of proof to prove it exists in order to use it in claims. So going to the claimant now. So the claimant, if you put in there that you, let's say, okay, so how to explain this? I'm the one who's been arrested. We've done this and used this process and said, right, he's the claimant. He's the one who's in the prison. He's the one who's laying the claim. They sent that back to us with a reply from a rather rude so-called justice, stating that as he is able to lay the claim, he cannot be incommunicado. So if you go and read the regulations, the CPR, terms and conditions of applying one of these writs of habeas corpus, an application, then you'll see that the reason, you have to state the reason why the claimant cannot make the claim for himself. Now, for me, which you'll see in some of the responses that the Queen's Bench have had from us, if the claimant was able to lay a claim, then clearly he wouldn't need one, would he? He wouldn't need a habeas corpus if he can go and walk into the court and file a claim. So the very fact that one of the conditions is, you know, if the claimant is, if the claim is being made on behalf of somebody who is incarcerated, then please tell us why. These are just like, imagine you're walking along a path and these are to trip you up with, to give them an opportunity to rebut it. Now let's go to the other column. Why would they want to rebut it? Why would they want to prolong it? Because they are doing mental torture on us all. You know, they're going to keep you under duress and try whatever they can, force, threat. You're going to stay in prison. They've said to you, never going to see the light of day again because you arrested a policeman. You know, we've had it all. That we're going to put you in top security and tell them all you're a paedophile and all of this. And so what you're actually involved in here is the world's worst game of poker. So don't show your hands all at once. Don't disclose the information. Stand in your unalienable state, no matter what it is that these complete idiots want to try to utilize on your mind to get you to surrender your corpse to them and commit the fraud upon your soul. So the reason for that obviously is that they can keep you in there for long. Well, they want to take 1,100 slave tokens a day out of your credit file for keeping you at HMP. It's not actually Her Majesty's Prison anymore, which is why they've had to abbreviate it to HMP. It's Serco. And if you look who owns Serco, you'll see that it's Prince William.
Brilliant. Yeah. Minister, one question. You see where if it's the police station straight away, does this still need to go to the does this go to the Queen's Bench, or does this go to the court, or is it they see it there and then they have to release you before it even gets that far?
Well, there's different ways that we can do it. What you're doing is something a little bit different. You're preempting. I don't know whether that's ever been done before. You know that you're going to go to the police station and you know that they are going to try to incarcerate you one way or another because they need to. It's your pound of flesh. People have got to remember, if I don't give them my pound of flesh, they can't say that they've been giving me my hospitality, providing me with my food and my shelter and my needs. In a confined space at Her Majesty's pleasure. If they haven't got you consenting to be that corpse. So there's two things going on here. As normally what an administrative habeas corpus would look like is a legal fiction in there, the incrimination is done, they would keep you in there anyway, fanny you around, keep you for 3 months, and then they've got their buns out of it, and then they let you go and probably give you a fine as well. And at that point, if you haven't put your standing in and secured your mind to the degree that this needs to be at before you take your number plates off, before you go and arrest a police officer, you know, whatever it is that you intend to do, then there will come a point where you're screaming, get me out of here, I'm a debt slave, get me out of here, here's my legal fiction and I want a lawyer. And we've seen it.
Well, not for my situation, obviously.
No, not with you. This is what I'm saying. Your situation is very different. And it's serious.
Mine's like you got way up the you know. Anyway, sorry. Go on. Sorry, go on. Crack on.
So your situation's very new. This is the first time that we will have completed document to premeditate any. You're doing the presuming, which is great. Instead of you doing the presuming that, oh, really, I've got to go down there, I've got to give me legal fiction, and I've got to go and sign my consent and sign this document every 14 days because of some charge that they're trying to lay against the legal fiction. What you're actually doing there is you're keeping their claim live. They don't actually have to do anything in that period at all. They've just got you going down to the police station, and when they so-called bailed the legal fiction here, I'd already surrendered a copy of the birth certificate into the court, and they said, oh well, we're going to let you go, but you need to go to the police station every 14 days and sign. And I said, is what? I've already told you I haven't got anything to use. So you've used the legal fiction from a bank card, and now what you want to do is have me compound the fraud every 14 days so you can milk that credit file. I'll go as Minister Emma Venn. And there's a video of me in the pouring rain outside the police station, a video of myself going in on my own. I haven't got 10, 15, 20 people with me. I'm on my own, doing this in the middle of a country. I don't speak the language. There's two massive police officers standing in the doorway. And I just walked straight in there and I said, I'm supposed to be here to sign, but before I can sign anything, I need to see what name is on the paperwork. And he just looked at me and he said, what name is it? I said, well, you should have some for Minister Emma Venn. He said, no, we haven't got any of that. I said, so have you got any for the legal fiction Nolson, so that I can take the liabilities as Minister Emma Venn, and I'll stamp the document for you. Now, if you stamp their document with Minister Emma Venn seal, what you're doing with that seal, it says that you already know what's going on and you've already reserved your rights and you will not give life to their commercial system. And that's why they don't want you to stamp it.
One question, where can I get my stamp from?
You take the PDF from the website, from the Minister Emma Venn Facebook page.
Yeah.
And you send it to Stamp Factory if you want, or you can send it anywhere and get yourself a stamp. You need a red ink pad and a stamp and a red pen. That is Perfect. All I ever had.
Right, okay.
So, thanks for that. So I went in there.
Can I quickly ask a question? When I went in and handed in the habeas corpus for 1799, they also wanted me to sign it.
I saw that you'd signed it.
Yeah. Should I or should I not have done that?
No, you shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I kind of thought that after I'd done it.
Well, what that meant, when you did that, it meant that they could go to the help with fees account. So we're going to go over that in a minute. So the answer is no, you shouldn't have done that. What we've been using, if they turn around and say that they're not going to accept it unless it's got a signature on it, is an unfinished pentacle. Now the reason...
Break this spell.
Pardon? Yes, to break the spell. All right, so...
Okay, I did sign it as Minister Emma Venn, so...
Minister Emma Venn is, in this instance, is a legal fiction, isn't it, that they haven't got the right of use of. Why have you given them the right of use of something they haven't got the right of use of? When you sign something, it's a sign of nature. It means that you're alive. It means you're live.
Okay, so I never sign anything that is a legal document. I only stamp it with the Minister Emma Venn stamp.
You most certainly do. And this is what they threatened me with in the prison. They said to me in the end, if you do not sign this document, then you won't be released. And I said, you can't keep me here if I don't sign it. I know that you can't keep me here if I don't sign it, because I haven't existed in your prison unless I sign it. And if I sign it right at the last minute, because of your threat of coercion, that you're not going to let me out, I know you're going to let me out. Why? Because you cannot afford to keep me here. I've cost you 1,100 slave tokens a day. And every day I would make a paper in the library to go and see the judge every Thursday, and just give them hell, because they're not the judge. One judge that they did bring in was the first. I'm digressing. Let's just stick to this and we'll go through the stories. So because we've had some complaints that our meetings divert from the matter. So comprehending the mechanics of it, you don't sign anything, you stamp it. And the reason why you stamp it is because it completely nullifies their document, and that's why they're screaming at you, we can't use this if you don't sign it. And no, you can't use it. But you also, what you did do is you stamped it and you signed it. So Minister Emma Van has got when you look at the seal, look, it's got 3 rings around it. That's the trust within a trust within a trust. That's your mind, body and soul, ministering my energy and matter in movement. And I'm taking the jurisdiction of this matter into universal law. And if I'm forced to put my signature in, because at that point I'm thinking, oh my God, my friend's in there and I don't want to let him stay any longer than he has to, and you've signed it, then what you've done is you've reserved the rights of the signature. They cannot use that document as a laundry, as a what's the word, as a legal instrument, as a commercial instrument, because it's got the seal on it anyway. But don't sign anything at all. And if you do have to put a mark on something, you can use the unfinished pentacle. Now the defendants.
Sorry, what's the unfinished work?
Is that an X?
No, you know, like a star. When you were a child, draw a 5-pointed star. Their spell is under the pentacle. You know what a pentacle is?
No, I don't.
Was that because you asked me to, on one of the forms, Minister, to do that unfinished pentagram? Is that the
Sorry, yeah, pentagram.
So you just don't connect it all up. You draw it out, but you don't finish it.
Yeah, you leave a bit, and do a big one so that they can see that what you're telling them is, I know that you are creating reality by my spelling, and I'm breaking your spell.
Right.
So any signature that they ask for from you,
hang on. Anytime they ask you for a signature, that is your sign of nature. But it's the stamp. Stamp it first and let them say that they don't accept a stamp. Well, hang on a minute, and we got a stamp. No, we use electronic signatures. Really, that's how much validity this system's got. They're not even they're asking you to do something that they are not even doing themselves. I mean, even Justice Stein's signature is an electronic sign of nature, which has got absolutely no validity to it whatsoever. There's no logo on the document. There's no, there's no reference to, I mean, I could have typed that up on a PDF for the validity that it is. People need to start to look, where is the logo? Here's the logo. Why can't they use that logo? Why is it not? Why are these boxes? We all know why the boxes are, because everything inside a box is exempt from the document. So on what you're looking at here in this document is the Crown Corporation's logo, and the rest of it's blank. These boxes and the contents within those boxes don't exist on that document.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've just been explaining to my partner the unbroken star.
Yeah.
It is exactly the same as when you have a passport form or any other official in bracket forms, when they ask you to write within the box. When you write within the box, you're within those rules, and when you write out with the box and not completing the star, you're ministering your own self.
But is that a question? Were you asking me a question? Were you stating what your comprehension is?
Yeah, what I was saying was when you fill in, when there's government forms like passport forms, and you have a box to put each initial in, and it's got to be in capital letters, and it's got to be within that box. The same within the star. If that star is not completed, and if you write an initial out with the little box, you are not complying with in brackets governmental rules.
Yeah, but if you've got a passport, for example, and you're going to put a mark in that box, that's what they're going to copyright against the name, and that's why people need to know about what's going on with the signature. It's the signature that breathes life into this. It's the sign of nature that assigns the asset to their corporation. So if you can write Mickey Mouse in there, we've had people here go in there and write UCC, what 308, 207, 308 in there, and the police have been ringing them up, telling them to bring their IDs back. And you can't put your signature, you can't have that as a signature. I can sign what I can put bloody Mickey Mouse in there if I want. Are you going to now dictate to me what my signature looks like? And so it's really with the passport, if you apply any of these official documents, well, let's put that to one side a minute. The answer is yes, all the time, just use the star. Can you imagine however many millions, 7.8 billion people using the unfinished pentacle as their signature?
Yeah.
And Minister Emma Venn as their legal fiction. That's what we're trying to get the point across to people about. So, you can go on the training for syntax fraud and there's Justinian deception, which is very good as a training material, talking about the syntax fraud and the grammar. But really, we just need to focus on what it is that we're doing here with this habeas corpus, and why, when you put in that box, in that claimant, you're putting first Minister Emma Venn misidentified as legal fiction, creditor of the legal fiction, blah, blah, blah. You're telling them straight away there that we know what's going on and you got the wrong, you haven't got the title. We're not using the title. They're not using the title. You've misidentified that individual, that being, as a legal fiction belonging to you. And immediately they're like, oh my God, not another one.
Minister, one other thing, yeah. On the defendant, yeah. Say, for example, yeah, it says the creditor of the legal fiction and then their name. Mm-hmm. Are they still the creditors? Because I thought they've been secured. So are they not the debtors now?
They're still crediting it, aren't they? They're still using it. They're still putting or applying it. They're putting
okay. Still putting it. Okay, got you. Sorry, yeah, go on.
So it's a good point. And obviously they haven't got any right of use of those legal fictions because those are what have been secured. If what we can't do, obviously, is otherwise we would be like them, is prosecute these people for doing something that they're not conscious of. They are prosecuting you for doing something you're not conscious of. If we did the same thing, and I've started to change the way that I ask them to identify themselves on the phones and things, because knowing what you know, you can't ask somebody, what's your name? After you've just said, my name's under non-disclosure and I can't use it, but I want, and now I'm going to do your job now, and I'm going to coerce you to incriminate yourself in the fraud that I just said I'm going to reserve my rights from. So you don't want to be all the time think, am I behaving in the same way that they are? Because if I am, then I might as well go and work for them.
Mm.
Just, you know, if I'm using violence, if I'm using aggression, if I'm using anger and frustration and all those things, I'm actually crediting that system that lives because of that. It exists because of that. Why? Because that is existing in you or me. And it's reflected outwards. So that we're, you know, and I saw the fear and the panic and the knee-jerk reaction that I got from when I went in the court with the whole pantomime performance and the straw men and 20 people in there and me dressed up as a minister, and I brought the scales of justice and them, you know, I'm not pissing her out here, but what happened is because they were so scared of what was happening and they didn't know what it was that was going on.
They never experienced it. They're like, what the fuck is going on? Excuse my language.
It was a lot of that, obviously, but it meant that what they did is they adjourned the court, they cleared the room, they got everybody out, and they heard, they did so here we have to protodiceo, so it's your first right. Your first right is freedom. You hand away your first right using legal fiction, and then you go in there and you say, can I have it back, please? So they hadn't done that because we'd already rebutted their claim for cannabis, saying that the Prime Minister said it was legal, and here's some receipts. And they hadn't done to protodiceo, they hadn't done the first court like the magistrate's court. They brought in the efetion, which is the appeal court from Syros. And so and they realized what it was that they were doing, because obviously we've gone in there, all Stanford University, loads of video of it. And so they cleared the court. These people now who were in the court for other cases, we were listed as number 8. They had all of the people who were involved in the court, their agents, the police, in there without us, and they convened the court of the protodiceo of the first right one. And then they put all of the other people back in. They heard all of their cases, left us till last, and then called the legal fictions again. And that's when we went in again. And when Themis went to peacefully surrender the 2 straw effigies, that was when the police jumped up and they're screaming and tried to throw us out again. And then they called, we were second to last, they'd left one case. They called another case, which at that point, that's done. They ran away. We discharged all the charges the first and the second time. They knew they couldn't come back a third time. So what they did in their panic, called another case, dealt with that case. We left then at that point and went next door to the hotel to find that there was about 100 armed police officers sitting in the hotel waiting for us, and I just walked straight in there to get a cup of tea, and I was just like, oh my god. Walked up the stairs, went to the toilet, came back down, and I just went over to one of them and I just said, what are you doing? Why are you as a Hellenist, as an Hellenist, supporting this? Why are you not coming next door to help me arrest those people that are in there that are forcing this commercial intercourse? And he's like, oh, well, I'll lose my pension, one of the guys. Another one, a little guy with special forces, he just got up and went out, and he made a phone call to tell them that we were having tea now. Now, we know this because we've got a couple of very nice police officers who saw what we were doing before all of that happened and could see that, we were prosecuting the banks, we were helping people with their electricity bills. So they came actually when I was in the police station and shook my hands and said, lots of nice things about me. But and I'm saying, why aren't you doing your job? You know that I'm not guilty. Why aren't you arresting them? So they then knew that we were next door, and they then called the case. But the first time they called the case, well, they'd sent a little lawyer across the road to come and tell me, I was doing a piece to camera, to come and tell me that it's called the case. And he wanted to usher me in. Don't let anybody usher you in. I pushed him into a bush, actually, as we walked up the stairs, so that I was absolutely livid. He said, well, you look completely ridiculous dressed like that. I said, you are completely ridiculous, whatever you wear. So, and then he ended up in the bush. Because obviously, you've got to think, what is it you're doing? You are supposed to be a dead thing in their eyes. You can't come and walk in there on your own, can you, if you're a dead thing? That's why you need an usher. They're like the Undertaker. They're bringing the body in. So this part here, where bring forth the dead thing and the evidence as to what law is broken. What you've just done with the habeas corpus is smash through their administrative shit and taken it face to face. Bring your evidence that I broke the law. And that's what you're doing. So the defendants are the ones. Sorry.
So the only person they could bring, if there really was a case, would be another man or woman to lay a claim against I or you. That is it. If there really was a case, well, you know what I mean. If there really was a claim.
So I didn't fully understand your question. Sorry.
No, I mean, because obviously, like you say, yeah, there's either bring the body, so they're either saying bring the corpse, which there isn't one, so bring you in, you're the living sentient being, yeah. So the only other way, if there really was a case, they would have to be a woman or a man to lay claim against you, yeah. That's the only way there would be a legitimate case, right?
You would have had. There has to be evidence, yeah. There has to be evidence, and there has to be harm, loss, or damage.
Yeah, to another person. I mean, not person. Sorry, wrong word. Man or woman.
To another being, yeah.
Another being, yeah. Okay.
I'm being. What
yeah,
I'm being. Being what? I don't know yet. I haven't found out what I'm being right now. So what I'm saying is what I learned, just going back to that story a minute, what I learned was because of the amount of fear that I'd actually generated in them, that's why they were like, there was this knee-jerk reaction and gave the legal fiction 5.5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. For 30 grams of cannabis, or 300 grams it was of cannabis. But they said that there was a baseball bat in the car. We didn't look at the 3 balls that were with it and said that it was an offensive weapon. So I became an international drug trafficking gun dealer on paper. So but even at that point, what I'm saying to you is, even at that point, they've given that thing and they're trying to imply it's me 5.5 years with an immediate execution of the order. So I knew what I had to do, which was to go and apply the equivalent of a habeas corpus. Here it's called the cacodycia, it's a judicial review. But in order for me to do that, I had to get to Athens. So it was like to get off the island, get on the boat, go to Athens. And loads and loads of people, obviously, this was we've got a 1.3 million people assignment here from a community and of Greek people who were all, they are aware of what was been going on, but not to this degree. And so it was quite a welcome committee. And they wanted us to obviously go and give presentations on our way around Athens down to Athens. So we started at Kavala, worked our way down, and then went to Athens, got the cacodycia. And to test the cacodycia, there's only me to test it.
Oh yeah.
I can't. Because there's only you to test it. Is what I'm saying. You can't know what you've got. And I've been saying this since we did test it and proved that, the longest they can keep you, even though they've done all this to you, for me was 90 days, until they learn. And the reason why we're back in this column now, why is it 90 days, the maximum that they can keep you? Because the laundering of the credit file works on something called TIPS, Settlement Service, TIPS. And it has got a 45-day cycle split into 15-day cutoff points. Now, I only know this because I used to work in that system, selling on the stock exchange. If I didn't know that, I categorically say that the chances of me not using legal fiction, did I not know the background of the mechanics of the commercial operation of their administrative system, would be very small. And so that is really what I'm giving to everybody. It's not, you know, and it's just process. It's there. What is it that we comprehend? We comprehend their process, and we comprehend it as fraud and all of that criminal acts. So we don't stand under it. We don't understand it. We don't overstand it. It just bloody well does not exist. And I stand here instead. And so where that is, I don't know. I'm not going to tell you where I'm standing. All I'm going to tell you is that I am not standing with you to commit the fraud that you require me to commit in order for your company to exist. And that's why for each individual who does this, imagine a big data spreadsheet, and there's your name and everybody else's names in these little blocks. And what you're doing is you're pulling out, you're emptying that little box, that little rectangle of everything that it contains. You don't even know what it contains. You don't know that behind that box there's millions and millions of other boxes that you are actually crediting and funding. Now you do. And you can actually go onto various websites and have a look. You can put in your national insurance account number and you can see what companies are trading on you or attempting to imply that they have got the right to trade on that legal fiction. If you've assigned your consent to Universal Law Community Trust and filed that with the Securities Exchange Commission or with the Chief Attorney General, whoever you think you need to do that to, it's the deed of you doing it that actually breaks the spell, because they've got an empty credit file. And that is what you're doing. That's how you are the secured creditor of your own mind. So the defendants here are, you can put something such as so ambiguous.
Can I just ask a question? Sorry.
Yeah.
How come they use the legal fiction national insurance number, or is that just me seeing things?
It's the primary trust fund feeding account. So your birth certificate, obviously, is the bond. That's the contract. And then the national insurance account is the commercial act. It's a commercial instrument, really, attached to the last name first, first name last.
But you know where it says fee account number, is that because it looks quite similar? If you, or is it me just assuming now?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to that bit. I'm just gonna do the body of this email because I think this requires a lot of information. The other box at the top right. All right, so I'm gonna come back to that. But it is that the national insurance account number goes in there. Why?
That's in the fee account.
Why does the national insurance account number go in there? Because it is a discharging account. That is why a government was set up, in order for it to discharge all of the liabilities, including your court costs. So in order for them to be able to exist, for a better word, or appear to exist, is that if I create you a liability, I also have to be able to discharge offer you the ability to be able to settle that liability. So that's just the very simple mechanics of the administrative system. Here we are creating you a liability, and here we are
using your assets to discharge the charges with. Because you gave us them to do that with, didn't you? By using the birth certificate and the legal fiction. You said that that was what you meant us to do. Well, hang on a minute. Is that what you told my parents when they signed, when they went down and declared me and peacefully surrendered me as collateral to the Crown Corporation to devour me for the rest of my life? I don't think they did. I don't think anybody has been had that information disclosed to them about the mechanics of any of the birth certificate, including the Secretary Act of 1666, obviously, which is what you all know about, where you become the presumed dead, lost at sea after the 7th anniversary of you being born alive. So we'll do this now, the help with fees reference number. This is a process that you go and get. Now we've got very lovely national insurance account number. So why can we use it? Can anybody answer me that? Why can we use that national insurance account number?
To profit off of the being, also off their energy, and also the slavery.
I missed the beginning of what you said.
To profit off the being, and also to profit off the energy and slavery.
Is it for someone to stand surety?
Yes, it's for somebody to stand surety too, but normally if the reason that maybe I should have worded it different. Why is it that we can use that national insurance account number without us assigning the consent?
Because we're secured party creditors to HM government?
No.
No, it's because of the fact that they use it as a commercial instrument. So what they're
No,
actually
it's
doing is
because
you're assigning your consent. Is it not the same as if you went to a job? Sorry to sidetrack. Is it not the same as if you went to go and apply for a job? The first thing, even before they even know your name, is fill in this form and especially put your national insurance number in there. Is that not because you pay for your actual own wages? So it's actually a credit file account.
Right, it's you said it in the middle of what you were saying there. It's because the once creditor of that account has assigned his consent away from it, and that we are granting, he is granting as his trust, the right of use of it for one instantaneous use, only for the amount of £580 or whatever it is, 548 quid, whatever. It means because, so in one way it was right, as secured party creditors, and now we're in, so it's not because we're secured party creditors, as in UCC definition, it's because I've secured how you use my credit now. How you use my credit file now is being ministered by himself, by the creditor of that account or herself. And we've gone to them and said, look, we've got this situation. We know that they're already laundering your account for a certain amount of benefits. So there is some criteria. And so if you make a note of this, help with fees, you read the criteria, do a little bit of practice with it. You know, you're all great researchers, put a national insurance account number in there that you know the information of, and see what feedback you get, depending on if I tick this box. Does it give me a reference number? Does it mean that the conditions of the national insurance account number being already open in list 1, having these benefits paid to it, are applicable, and I get a number, or do I need another number? And so this became apparent when we did use the first Habeas Corpus set, when we filed the first 9, and there were 7, 9 or 7, and we used WD. It turned out that the account was not being laundered for the right criteria. They were only getting a small amount of benefit out of it. Everybody's getting a small amount, you're getting 1% of what they're actually taking, actually. But that's by and by at this point. But it didn't fit the criteria in column 1 of their list. So what you're doing there is you are assigning the consent of the right of use of the legal
of the legal fiction, of the credit file, to stand surety to the transaction, to discharge the charges, but not to be able to launder it forever and so on for whatever you like, because somebody's put a signature on that document.
Right, so
Yeah.
you can use your own national insurance number then?
Only if you're getting, okay, go and you answer that question. What did I just say?
Sorry?
Okay. There's certain criteria you need to have a look at. Help with fees.
Yeah, help with the account. Yeah.
So you go
Yeah.
go on the website, have a look.
Yeah.
What is the criteria that you need to be able to meet? The national insurance account has to have a benefit in column 1 being paid out, and it's immediate if that's the case. If there's benefit being paid out in column 2, you can still use it, but there will be other conditions, and you might get a part discharge on it.
Right.
Now you don't need to worry about this because we've already taken care of that for you, because we've got a national insurance account number that works very well, and it's with all its rights reserved. It's got a release of commercial instruments and a right of use document all ready for you, and all you need to do is change the date on it. And so again, it's a template. This right of use, release of commercial instrument, is granted for one-off instantaneous use to ... discharge the charges according to the help with fees reference number. That's what the HWF stands for, and it will generate you a 6-digit number from their system. And this is okay. So this we're just, if you turn around to us and say, right, I need a habeas corpus, what I'm actually doing is trying to compile a pack, but it keeps getting added to. So then I got to go back and go, and if this happens, then this, and if this happens, then this. So it's like the unfinished symphony at the moment, because everybody's doing, their ministering of themselves. Please don't ever think that you've got it wrong. Please don't ever think, oh God, I can't speak to its teller to own up to what I did and I used legal fiction. It only matters to you. Of course I'm disappointed because of all of the material that's out there and how easy it really is when you do comprehend it. So it's like, okay, well, all it's doing is you are the teacher of yourself, you're the student, you're all of those things. So you're the minister, you're all of those things. So it's only you that it really matters to, because you're the one sitting in the prison, aren't you?
No, because I'll be out.
Yeah, if you fuck it up and you don't do what it is that I have said many, many millions of times in these steps, and absorb it and show due diligence and go and look at the mechanics of how this works. It's not just about wafting a piece of paper about and going, okay, I'll take my number plates off and drive around, and then come screaming in with a cult leavers group saying, she got my car taken off me. No, you did. And this is what me is unalienable. Okay. And so this is what makes me laugh about these people who think that they can come. Even the administrative court can't attach a lien to me. And these people think that they can come with their false claims to say that I have, caused them loss, harm, or damage. No, you did. Did you do that step? No. Did you assign your consent? No. Did you join with the legal fiction? No. But okay, well then, if you didn't do any of those things and assign your consent, sorry, there's somebody at the door. Just a second. I'm just recording.
I like how it all goes silent. Who's knocking at the door?
Yeah, that's
Knock, knocking at the door. Someone's ringing.
Exactly what I was thinking. Who is it? Who's at the fucking door?
It's my daughter.
Oh, that's all right then.
So the assignment, unalienable, it's self-determination. So if it doesn't work for you, that's what I was saying. If somebody, for example, had not signed their consent to the legal fiction, I would have been serving 3 habeas corpus. We would have been dealing with 3 habeas corpuses at Justice Stein's rendezvous, let's call it. So I don't need to hear I didn't or I don't believe I did. You did, because otherwise you would not be being dealt with in the magistrate's court. So whether you want to speak to me or not is by the by. I'm not going to be chasing you around saying you've got something to say to me. I've got many, many, many better things to do than be chasing around to ask you what it was you didn't do. I don't give a rat's ass if you don't get this nailed. You have, because the universe is giving you the exact same platform it's giving everybody else, and it is down to you to self-determine it for yourself. Otherwise, like we said at the beginning, you've got a government, and that is not what I am creating here, and not what any of us want. So we might get responses that you think, oh God, she doesn't really care. I care above and beyond anything that you probably comprehend, because otherwise I wouldn't even be sitting here doing this. I wouldn't have built the website, I wouldn't have done all those things. I would have just gone, no, yeah, it was really great. Like some people do that I give this to, and go and sit down and back in their business and make loads of slave tokens, don't pay any tax. And don't change anything at all, except they've just discharged their liabilities, use the Minister of and then go with their half mind and take the number plates off. And then next thing you know, it's your fault. So according to them, obviously it's not. So make yourself unalienable. And in that way, okay, you can say what you feel, speak your truth, and it doesn't matter, because you're completely in your own standing. If people think you're wrong, okay. If it doesn't work, did it work for you? Yeah, it did. Did it work for somebody else? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But what we find is when these steps are the steps, that's it. You either take them or you don't, and it's down to you. And so you can accept, you can go, well, okay, it's my responsibility. And so like we just had 128 on there now. I love 128 because it doesn't matter what he does, he's always honest. He always speaks the truth. There's no messing around, there's no completely direct, and that's why this works for him, because he's not trying to protect his ego by making out that, by being false to himself, first of all. And so this ministering of your mind, it has to be put in place. And what we're doing is, what we're actually doing vibrationally is we're saying, God, look, okay, God, say God, universe, Omega, whatever that exclamation is, when you realize that it's all been our own doing. Every single one of us has had a part to play in the way this shit show looks. And each and every single one of us can stop doing that whenever we like, just by stopping playing the game. So these are the very simple steps that I used, and a lot of the people use now, to exemplify that this system doesn't exist unless I credit it, and I'm not. So does your claim, this is very funny, this is immediately look at that, right? It's the only sentence there, look, it's not in the box. Does your claim include any issues under the Human Rights Act? Yes or no? Why would you tick? Tell me what you think, guys. Which one would you pick?
I'm not claiming anything that then claims me as a monster.
Nice one, Fishman. Great, bang on. So human is defined as a fiction and a monster by Black's Law Dictionary. If you do tick yes, then they will say, oh, it's not our jurisdiction, and it goes to the European Court of Human Rights. Now look at that. For people who say, oh, this is your definition, we don't share the same definition. Look what they've done. They have created a system that can trample and trespass all over your rights. By calling yourself a human, this system then has got and created the, here, come over here, here's our administrative system, smashing you with your rights. And then you can invest more of your energy after you've got out of the prison after 7 years for doing something that you didn't do, but you did because you used the legal fiction. So after that, everything else doesn't count anyway. We can do whatever the hell we like to you. And then you get out and then you lay your judicial review and we knock you back, or your appeal and we knock you back. Why? Why are these people in prison? Because you're still committing fraud upon your soul. You are a quantifiable commodity, and I can make as much money out of you as I can while you're there. And then you're going to come out and you're going to serve these documents and you're going to pay the court fees and you're going to do all of these things. You're still crediting my system while you're standing there saying, you're not doing this in my name. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm doing this in your name because you gave me your name to do it with. So then when you've exhausted all of those avenues and you've got no legal recourse because we haven't got any lawful remedy to offer you in the first place, we send you across to Europe, to the Court of Human Rights, where you can sit in there as a case file reference number for 2 years or more. Why? Because a human doesn't have any rights, like Fisherman said. So what are you doing, people? Stop defining yourself by these Roman definitions and you'll find that they don't exist. And you keep your rights intact instead of having, supporting and crediting Bill Gates with your DNA. So you can go and buy some GMO shit in the shop with your slave tokens. So details of claim. Sorry, we've digressed. Defendants, the ambiguity of the word of the defendants. If you don't know, which police station it was that have abducted him and held him for ransom, or which court it is that's issued a warrant for their unlawful arrest. Bear in mind, do not expect to use this if there is a victim. Okay. This is not, if there is a victim and you have actually caused actual bodily harm or loss or damage to another being, then don't ever use Minister MFM, because we will not stand surety to that. Now, so therefore in the defendants, it's always going to be, it could be all agents of the administrative system. It could be all agents of HMCTS. It could be all agents of HM prison. It doesn't matter where, you don't have to be specific. And again, the Habeas Corpus has different regulations, different criteria, let's say. It requires no service. I don't have to notify you that if I, like for example here, the police wants somebody to go to the court on the 23rd of September, but they haven't served a document because they haven't got anybody to serve it on. Now, all documents need to have a certificate of service inside the case file in order for them to proceed with the case. And the Cardiff court came back to us and said, oh, you need to send, you haven't given us a certificate of service. Hang on a minute, it's Hab Corpus. You have to have that individual out within 72 hours in front of a judge. So I don't need to serve the defendants with the documents and provide a certificate of service. However, here you go, there's one for you anyway. So we already did that. Now, the details of the claim. So let's say, let's do a scenario. Somebody gets a phone call and they have heard that one of the ministers has been unlawfully incarcerated for arrest from impersonating a police officer. And you don't know where they are. What are you going to put in the defendant's box?
Unknown.
All agents of administrative service system.
I put, or whoever's got him.
Yeah, okay.
Could we write that as whoever is the gaoler?
whoever is responsible for the unlawful incarceration is a sentence really that covers all agents that may require legal training before they actually go and wear their uniform and do a job.
Whoever is responsible.
Yeah, whoever's responsible. Well, that can I be classed as responsible? Think what the words are you using. It's, you know, I've used this one myself to have an order changed because it was the ambiguity of it. By the very actions of an individual, can they ever be considered responsible if they're breaking the law?
No.
No,
No.
No.
definition is wrong, isn't it? If they're breaking the law, they're not responsible.
Exactly. So it's really, for me, it's whoever's got them.
Hmm.
You know, we want layman terms. People are like, oh, you speak in double speak and legalese. And no, I don't. I talk about the double speak and the legalese and how it's incarcerated you all unlawfully. But the straight talk is whoever has got him or her, really. I mean, we at the moment, that was the COVID thing, that we're all, the defendants are the CP, the party who wrote the CPR. The party who wrote civil code procedure rules is responsible for this incarceration, because without that, the policy enforcer wouldn't believe that he was upholding the law, so he wouldn't go and arrest him, would he? And he wouldn't put him in the court. And the court wouldn't believe that they've got some jurisdiction over a living being just by pretending that he's a dead thing walking.
Yeah, to go to source.
So just to raise your game, you know, take in as much of this horrible picture that they've created, this horrible net that they've trapped you in, or tried to, and just step out of it. On one of the documents that we've got is a TR1 document that we use for land registry. Somebody very kindly, I don't know who it was, took the boxes out of it for us. Now this, if you look at this document, it's got 3 boxes. Look, it's got the margin, it's got the greeny grey border, and then it's got the other box, and then it's got the boxes up in the boxes. So everything is in a box if you count in the margin, look. And that's the, you know, that's the fraud right there in your face. Defendant's name and address. You can address it to care of HMCTS, Queen's Bench. You can really, you should be serving it back on them. Because we're not making a claim, we are rebutting the claim. We wouldn't have to be serving a habeas corpus application if you lot hadn't broken the law.
The fact that this whole system is there surely highlights that it's the whole system is fraud.
It highlights that we are fraudulent because we have committed the fraud for convenience and handed our rights away, and so by
But only because we never knew, though, Minister. If we had been taught properly that that's what was actually happening, I'm sure a big majority of beings would have, you know, as soon as they understood, which is, I suppose, why we're all here now.
No, as soon as they got shit scared enough to have a look at something other than their bank balance and their plastic shoes in their wardrobe, and as soon as the universe manifested coronavirus to smash you between the eyes that it's time for you to look at something other than that, that 20 years ago, that claim that you just made there would have been acceptable. We didn't know. Since then, we've all had access to the internet. This information has all been out there all that time. And, you know, I've spent 10 years trying to ram this, 8 years down people's throats to try to get them to look at it. But instead, they would much rather invest, you know, throw rotten veg at you and call you a lunatic, try and get you sectioned. So
you know, I'm not facilitating victim state, like I said before. There is no excuse now. There is a choice. You either choose to support the terrorists, pay your tax to them, and then scream about it afterwards, or you don't. And there's no excuse. It's all there. It's just whether people can be asked to look or not. And then whether they can be bothered, because we've got a whole track record of people taking advantage and taking the benefit of it. And then, like I just said before, not actually implementing it. It's only you guys that have actually stood up and gone, right, okay, well, I'm gonna see if this crazy bird's speaking the truth. But even at that point, it isn't, you didn't jump into this, people say, I jumped in there with both feet. No, you didn't. Because if you jumped in there with both feet, you'd have been here years ago. What you did is you allowed the system to create such an uncomfortable scenario for you that you had no other option left. And this is what I'm talking about now with the kindness credits. We've nailed the administrative system. But now what we're doing is still fanning around using slave tokens, because we're still in a comfort zone as far as that goes. Well, I love the fact that they've not put any money in the machine here. They're all running around screaming now, I've got to pay with my card. The companies are screaming because they've got to pay tax, because every transaction is monitored and recorded. And that what they're doing is they're prepping you, and I said this to them yesterday, they're prepping you, they're grooming you for the chip. The chip in your card is going to be the chip in your hand. And then obviously we found out about all of this last night, where they've all finally got up. Because they can now, it's too obvious, even the sleepers' eyes are open to the fact that you are going to use kindness credits, or a form of kindness credits, or you're going to be a quantifiable commodity copyrighted by biohacks and Bill Gates. So, and that's the choice you've got now. It's not about, and this is why this has happened, because the legal fiction system was killed off. Once somebody broke their porito, their non-disclosure, which is what a porito means, by the way, is a non-disclosure. That was done. They couldn't use it anymore. Now what you're doing is you're going, right, okay, well, we've breached the non-disclosure. Their undisclosed terms and conditions now out in the open. Everybody knows about them. The system knows that Minister Emma Benz and other people know about that. So they couldn't take the risk anymore, because they don't know which one of these accounts is. This is why we don't go in and do individual UCC ones. People with indebted minds who think that that's the benefit, you're giving them notice. This one, this one, this one, this one, this one. You're disclosing. So we just did a few in the beginning to be able to exemplify that and practice it as well, to perfect it to the degree that where we've got all of that, those charges that you'd all assigned across, that we'd all incurred against the corporations for accepting our terms and conditions, using their commercial code to build the debt with. We could then do one massive, great big one, and they don't know who the hell it is who's incorporated in that, included in there. And we're not going to tell them who it is. And we're definitely not going to give them 20 slave tokens for telling you that I'm a secured party creditor, but here's 20 quid. I mean, come on, guys. Come on. That's why I said, are you serious? You cannot be serious. I'm going to go and pay you 20 quid to secure my name. Oh, right, okay, bravo, guys. Yes, of course, we had to do it a little bit to be able to get that, so that the people who have got, these are rabbit holes, these are traps, the common law, the UCC, the syntax, the live life claim, all of that. What you've done here is you've gone, not having any of that, and I'll make my own definition up and I'll write my own glossary, as such as secured party creditor equals, I don't credit your legal fiction. Or today in a conversation, if the conversation is being determined by somebody's mind and you're meeting them at that mind, and you need to meet them at that mind with their definition of secured party creditor and take them on the journey of what your definition is, then start off with that. Okay, well, you get that there is unsecured creditors and secured creditors, you get that. Okay, we'll start there. The secured creditor normally would be the bank. And if you've got a debt to the bank, they're secured on your asset. Tell them the story, relate it to the things that they already know. They're people, we've been living this system for 2,000 years, man. Don't turn around and say, oh yeah, no, we didn't know. And that's it. That is the fraud. We didn't bother to find out. We just unconsciously granted it away. And so it's that you are restoring the rights to. You are restoring your rights and your right mind and your right thinking. And what it looks like is that nobody's got any rights to trespass on your rights unless you grant them that by giving consent, which is what we did the Ministry of Remedy hearing for, just to clarify and exemplify that. We get it to a certain degree, but then we can still go and try and incriminate somebody by overriding their consent and including them in something that they don't want to be a part of. No, you've got a right. Do you want to be involved in this? No. Okay, well I do. Okay, you go right ahead and you go get yourself involved, but don't agree in that. And I don't mean me, Minister and then me. If you want to go and use Minister and then like that, because you want to go and you're on your own path at that point. It's like we've all got this starting point. We're all at the same starting point. We're starting off as Minister and then. What my path and journey of exemplification looks like is going to be as unique as it was before I got here. So, and that's why what we say is, well, you go on that journey. Well, if you see this works because their system works so well, for one simple fact, they just got organized. They just got themselves some documents and wrote them, and we all presumed that it was true. And so when you turn around and say, well, okay, can you just clarify that for me, like we did? Is it when they said, well, these people are over the age of consent? Hang on a minute. If you're attempting to try to use a legal fiction, are not all people who use legal fiction defined by your system as legal minors, incapacitated legal minors? And that's why you're there, being their governor. Whatever it is that they do, just hold it back up them. You have got the exact and equal or the opposite frequency structure to fire back at them. What is that? You and your secured mind crediting something other than that. So I would write your own glossary as well. And so that if you do decide to have a conversation, you're not going to be misinterpreted. So the details of the claim, you can just simply put, he was unlawfully incarcerated. If you can't think of anything else, this is what I'm trying to show you how simple this is. Don't overthink it. Well, I've got to write this and I better not put that word there. It doesn't matter what word you use if you've attached your own glossary anyway. So what you can do is you can take all of that pressure off that only you have been applying to yourself. I've got to get this right. And then I don't know if I know enough to get it right. And then better not do it in case I can't do it, in case I can't do it right. To hell with that. I'm going to do it and I'm going to see where my level of comprehension is, see what response I get back. And if I don't get it right the first time, I'll do it again. And if I don't get the response that I want, or I cock it up and I create the joinder and I'm like, oh shit, okay, I might lose a car for it. Okay, is it going to stop me doing it? No, it's not. I'm going to carry on. I'm going to do it again. Or I'm going to go turn around and say, oh, this thing, this freedom thing, this me rebutting the presumption of the system that I know to be complicit in terrorism. It didn't work for me once, so I'm going to give up and I'm going to go and slag it off and say, well, best I'll go and behave like me. It's like the alcoholic. I know it's not good for me, but it's all I know. So and I want you all to join in with me. Isn't it great? We all can sit around and get pissed together. Well, great. And that's what you get from these people who don't, I get it. I'm going to be your administrator. You haven't got a clue what you're doing. And you're going to administrate, you're going to, create the documents for people where you don't even know what you're doing yourself.
Here you go. Here's some numbers. Let's have a look at them. Go over there and do that. Who am I to say no? Go and do it. And then come back and we can see who you really are from the way that you respond to be given the same platform and forum of being unalienable, which is what this habeas corpus training is supposed to be about, is how you exemplify yourself as unalienable. So, court fee, nothing in there because you're not paying anything, all right? Details of claim, you haven't got a claim number at this point, okay, so that's another point to cover. The claim number will be put on there by the court once they've accepted the liability, batted back at them. They've left you lots of space there. On some of the claim forms, you'll see you get a tiny little box to put your information in. This is to incriminate you. This is so that they can turn around and say, well, because you said that in there, then this doesn't apply. Or like we said about the incommunicado. Claimants or claimants' legal representative should be sent if different from overleaf. What you're putting in there is a porito at protonmail.com. That's all. Now, the reason why we've gone from using Universal Law Community Trust for Minister of Event in there is because Minister of Event doesn't make claims. Minister of Event reports the claims. And the Porito Limited, it cannot be determined as unable, it doesn't fit the legal fiction criteria definition that they have given to every single company that's registered in Companies House. You're not using the legal fiction that they have copyrighted. You've created a credit file inside there with a company name you come up with yourself. And you've got Minister Ramadan as the party with significant control, or you can use legal fictions that are secured. Does that make sense? Does it not make sense? Don't be shy, guys.
Yeah, so could you go over that again, please, Lisa? Because where it's where you said a Pirito Limited, is that in the bottom, the claimant or claimant's legal representatives?
Yeah,
but not in the top box where you then scroll back up to. That would be Minister MFM, wouldn't it?
yeah.
Claimant.
So it's claimant. So what you're trying to do is define it again. Aren't you? Which is which? Is there any difference? Is there any difference if Minister Event is under a warrant from a Porito?
Oh yeah, so it's only, but it's good that we were having this because then that gives us what we need in our own minds. Then, so
this is what I
realised.
Yeah,
it's just made me realise Minister Event, of course, is a Porito because of his standing as Minister Event.
You're standing there, aren't you, as People's Protection Patrol?
Yeah.
So you that company, who's that company? You or me?
Yeah.
Me as Minister of Event. So this is the the mind bend. So who is it who's Porito? Me is, but I don't just mean me. I mean every single individual who uses me as a title. And there again, even when you say it uses me as a title, it can be where it is so ambiguous, isn't it? Does she mean me? Does she mean use her as a title, or does she mean me as Minister Event as a title? What this administrative system is guilty of is ambiguity. And that's where they screwed themselves over with that COVID determination, because of their ambiguity. It was them who was laying the claim that COVID was unlawfully incarcerating the people. It's them who is laying the claim, who have created COVID as a narrative
to unlawfully incarcerate you with. Why? Because they can't unlawfully incarcerate you with illegal fiction anymore, because that's done. And the only way that they can attempt to trespass on your rights now is through implying that COVID exists. Well, not anymore, thank you, Justice Stein. We love you. So we're going to get to the next bit of this as well. I want to cover that, so which is the penal order. Statement of truth. I understand the proceedings for contempt of court. Look at it, it's there, it's right in your face. So let's go over this. We applied this document, and we acknowledge that the proceedings for contempt of court may be brought against anyone who makes or causes to be made a false statement in a document verified by a statement of truth without an honest belief in its truth. Can any of us really say that we've got any honest belief in truth as a definition defined by them? No.
No.
Can I tick a box there stating that the proceedings for contempt of court may be brought against anyone who makes or causes to be made a false statement in a document verified by a statement of truth without an honest belief in its truth, if I have no comprehension of what truth is because you didn't teach me it? Can you just work your way through this mire of hypocrisy and presumption, and when you hold up these so-called exemplifications of definition of administrative and legal system defined then as law, there's so many holes in it. That's, and you can see it for the net that it is that's trapping your energy in. So I believe that the facts stated in the particulars of claim are true, or the claimant believes that the facts stated in these particulars of claim are true. I am authorised by the claimant to sign this statement. So which one are you ticking?
The bottom one, the claimant.
I believe.
Why? Who? Why? Okay, we've got work.
Depends who's filing the habeas corpus.
Sorry?
Depends on who's filing the habeas corpus.
It's always Minister
If
Van.
you're doing it yourself.
So it's always Minister Van who's in that claimant's top box.
Why so?
So I believe then.
But the claimant is Minister Van in the top box. What I'm telling you there is Minister Van covers both of them boxes. You can tick them both.
That's true.
Can't you?
It is true.
Yeah.
So and you are authorised by the claimant because you are Minister Van, and you've authorised yourself by assigning the right of use of yourself to tick the box with all your rights reserved.
The first form we did for Minister Ginger Strawman was we did tick both boxes, and then I got him to change it and just tick the bottom box. But
What I'm trying to show you, love, is you use Minister Van, it doesn't matter.
yeah,
This shit does not matter.
better.
And I don't mean in the context that they might turn around and say, well, you tick the wrong box. Even that doesn't matter. It doesn't. It tick the wrong box. Yeah. How can they then determine whether you tick the right box or not if Minister Van's in the claimant box? Is what I'm saying to you. You are ministering the paperwork because you're ministering yourself. You're defining yourself. So it's how you determine what that means to you. And what I'm trying to say to you, it doesn't matter. You can't get it wrong, can you?
No, because you are like, in some contexts, and you are the claimant in other contexts as well. So I can see where you're saying it doesn't matter what boxes tick because you are both.
It doesn't matter because it's a bloody box, first of all, so it doesn't matter anyway, does it?
Yeah, because anything in a box is.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm trying
Anything
to get,
that's in the box stays in the box.
I'm trying to get people's minds to the out of this like frenzy that keeps coming across. You know, it's our presumption, so we need to not. It's not about them and somebody else. It's about getting a grip on our presumption. Where do I let my mind run away with myself? Do I go into panic mode because I see a police car? Do I go into panic because I'm standing in the court and I'm like, oh my God, don't know what's going on in the background. So he's told me that I can only demur this case if I admit that I'm the legal fiction. The minute that you use the legal fiction, you are guilty. What are you guilty of? Fraud on your soul. Bang, off you go. You're guilty of just signing your consent away from universal law into the hands of Roman canon ecclesiastical jurisdiction, and it does not matter anymore what you say after that point. And so even if you're standing there saying, I said I wanted to demur it, no, is it going to go to Crown? Well, let's have a look at it from the other side of the column now. Here I am, I'm the judge. Well, I don't know what I'm doing. I've got a little woman or a man who's, again, what we talked about at the beginning, they've got a very good diploma, highest degree in fraud. They're the ones now running around in a flap because they have had to bring their checkbook, or the lawyer for the prosecution who would have had to bring the checkbook. But what they've actually brought is your birth certificate. They brought the assignment of consent that they are waiting for you to grant to them to underwrite it. So when you walk in there with a straw man and its birth certificate round its neck, and you peacefully surrender it and say, here you go, I am here to settle all controversy. I've been claiming that legal fiction. That is what you've got the jurisdiction of. Knock yourselves out, smash it to pieces for all I care. That's what you have got the jurisdiction of. Two-dimensional, no things, not this. Now, let's get into the Mental Health Act now. Because they come at you then and suggest that because you use the words such as unalienable or sign my consent, that they consider that you should have a mental health assessment. But then that's what they did to me at the prison in the end, to try to get me to give them blood, and I refused. Was for me to go to the hospital to have a mental health assessment. In order for me to go to the hospital, I had to give them some blood so they could test me to see I haven't got any contagious diseases. And I said, well, you should have checked that before. This is now in the last week of the third month. They're absolutely desperate to get something to join the living with the dead. And I said, you should have thought about the contagious diseases. You've had me in here for nearly 3 months. If I'd have got a contagious disease, you'd all have been dead, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? And if, because I've said that I want to see, I quoted their administrative code to them regarding I wanted to know what information they put on file, like a subject access request. And they said because I'd asked for that, then I must be suffering from a mental health issue. And so I just said, well, okay, if you're going to assess me and my mental health, then we'd have to bring forth whoever it was who wrote that, because all I've done is quote that. So what you're saying by implying that I'm mental is that the party who wrote your code is mental also. I agree. It's mental that I have to ask you what data it is that you've got on file held against me attached to a legal fiction. I think it's psychotic. In fact, let's all go and have a mental health assessment. Obviously, the mental health assessment didn't go ahead and they kicked me out of prison. So, use logic.
Sorry, Minister. So, could you not just state no? It's as simple as that. When they want these things, or they try to, just no. We want you to go in.
No is nay.
Oh, no is nay. Yeah, that's it. I heard that actually. Yeah. So you have to rebut it, and is that right? You can rebut by questioning the same questions, or it's not a question.
Yeah, if they're, it's their implication back at them. If you're implying that I am suffering from a mental health issue because I said I signed my consent, is that not what you want me to do here today to you, Your Honour? Does it not mean that without my consent, you cannot initiate any further procedure against me, Your Honour? And right, Your Honour equals you haven't got any on your glossary and serve it on them. Because if you know that you're going to use words, you know, and not be confident enough. And when I first started doing this, when I went in there as the Sheriff of Dorset, I knew I was going to use the word Your Honour. So I already wrote my glossary and presented it to the clerk before I went in there. And in the end, because I'm saying, yes, Your Honour, no, Your Honour, yes, Your Honour, this, Your Honour, that, Your Honour. In the end, he's screaming, don't call me that. Because he's sitting there looking at the document that says, when I say Your Honour, it means you haven't got any.
So this is, you know, it's a whole package thing. It's not, you can't fanny around in the peripherals of this and complete it to the degree. And, you know, that's why when people say, where are all these people? There are people that did steps 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Got to the next bit and you know, they just disappeared because it's too much for them. They don't want to take responsibility to this degree, and they don't want to go and stand on what it is that they've learned. They want somebody else obviously to do it for them, and nobody can. You have to do it yourself. So claimant, this is very interesting. Litigation friends, I tick that box because if they're implying that one of our ministerial events is a legal fiction, then they are an incapacitated legal minor, and I wanted to have that. I wanted to bring that into obviously the hearing, to have whether them define whether somebody using legal fiction was now not considered a legal minor, and we've missed that bit out. Actually, we should refer to that part. That, you know, Justice Stein is on record to say that to imply that the use of the legal fiction, I can't be an incapacitated legal minor because Justice Stein said that I didn't need a litigation friend who was Minister of Event. I could do it myself. So I can't be a legal minor, an incapacitated legal minor, and need a trust ministered or administered by a Crown Corporation, then can I? Because Justice Stein said that's not valid. I'm not a legal minor, and I can represent myself. So I don't need a lawyer. Just go through that recording, and there is so much material for you to pick out and use in so many different ways that, you know, it's I love it. I keep listening to it, and it's there's so much there, but you have to, you know, it's how you're going to apply it. It has to relate to you, and so this is really what is due diligence, relating this information to me in my situation and how to execute my comprehension of what it is that is going on and how I can stop it. So as much information that we can give to one another, and that's why we want to hear from you. We don't care if you, I mean, obviously we care that you had to spend time in prison. Of course we care about that, but we don't care about how you got out if it wasn't through this structure, because we know that either you're out and you never get in there because you stood your ground right at point 1, and the problem that you guys had there was the same as I had here. You're trailblazing this, so you didn't have a precedent set in your country, you set it. And now it's much easier for everybody else to be able to say, right, okay, well we'll do it like that now, just follow. The doors are blasted wide off, blend the bloody doors off the whole bloody shop.
I was just going to ask the same question. You just answered the question I was going to ask.
Wow.
So, yeah, I was going to say, because we've all done, well, a couple of us have done this, does that mean that the others after us, it's going to be easier for all over the, like this part of the rock? Or do we have to keep doing this in other parts? And just so happens that the people that have, the beings that this has happened to was in one part of the country. Do you see where I'm coming from? So
I get where you came in a bit late. We one of the events who's quite new to this is already preempting. He's taking this document with him, which is why we're going through it now in his actual circumstance. He's now setting a new example of doing it in advance. His presumption is, I know that you're going to attempt to commit fraud on me and arrest me unlawfully.
I've spoken to them. Yeah, I know the Emavan, yeah. I know the Emavan that you're speaking of. I've
yes,
spoken
John. No.
Right. So that's why it's easier for people now. For somebody who is incarcerated and we do it post dated, let's say they've already been arrested, then there's Blaze has been trailed, or the trail has been placed. Speaking double Dutch now after speaking admin and legalese. And this is a nice opportunity that we've got for somebody to actually turn around and say, you know what, I'm going to go and I'm going to serve it on them before they even arrest me, and see what they do with that. So I'm quite looking forward to the response. And thank you, Ginger, for giving us this opportunity. It's absolutely brilliant. But what you just said there, the 1191, is that we're all in the same place in the country because we were all restoring the rights there. So all of our focus and energy was on that. England and Wales, as a community now, have got two case reference numbers, and also now an application for a penal order to be executed against anybody who for straight committal to prison, so who breached that order. So let's just go back, finish this document then, because I'm quite excited about that bit. We've got the date, the month, the year, full name in there. What's the full name that we're putting in there?
Mr. Emavan?
Well,
Aparito Limited.
There you go. Yeah. That was yeah.
So it's who has filled that document out there, isn't it? Look, the statement of truth. Who has made that statement there?
Minister and event.
Well, Minister Emavan can't be used to lay claims with, can it?
Right, so I see what you said. Right, so it's a Porahito.
And
Nice.
and so because it's a company. So let's
So it's limited.
yeah.
Mine says, the one I've got here, sorry to interrupt, it's got / Georgia, that and then the surname. I don't know if I'm supposed to say it out.
Yes, you can say it out loud, because that, if you have you looked at what a Porito is on Company's House?
No, I haven't. No, to be honest, but I'm just copying what was here before. So the one I've got says Apojito / Georgia Duris, whatever that means.
Yeah, so that's one of the directors, and
that's the direct, right? Okay, of that
one
company.
of the directors. So now what we've done is we've covered that little doorway of commerce, haven't we? They're saying that they require, she spelt it out for you. The lovely Stein. Stein means rock. Did you know? Einstein means one rock in Greek.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Can't believe it when I told them here. They thought I'd made it up.
They thought I made it up and stuff. So we're looking at the document here and they're like, well, that's come from the court. I haven't even got a seal or a stamp on it or a logo or anything, you know what I mean? I thought, yeah. And then they said that they didn't know that Stein was rock, and I obviously I didn't. So she spelled it out for you. That we can't stand there and say we would like a penal order for those that are in contempt of court, but here's another ministerial event claim. Do we? Do we? If we
No.
Because if we turn around and do that, then we're in contempt of the same order, and they can arrest Minister M. Evans, can't they?
Sorry, can you repeat the question again? I didn't quite catch it.
I don't know if it was a card. I don't know if I can do that actually. Somebody start me off. What was it? So the full name, we were doing the full name. So it was a Porridge Limited / Augusta Reese. So why are we not putting Minister Van in there? Because Minister Justice Stein, we're going for a penal order, aren't we? For anybody who's in contempt of that court order.
Yep.
Yes. Right? We've got that. Now, if we turn around and say we want we want to execute this penal order against Gwent Police, for example, for trying to enforce COVID and they're in contempt of court, what can they do if we put Minister and Ven in their box?
Minister Emma Van.
What does the order say? Has anybody read the order past the point of COVID?
I did. I can't remember it.
It says that Minister and Ven cannot be used for laying claims with.
Oh, right,
Yeah, contempt to court.
Okay,
Yeah.
Do you know, 1 to 8, we're gonna have a video of you arresting yourself. Oh, we should do that. That's a really great idea. I love these meetings with you guys. That's what we should do. We should put Minister and Ven in the box and then arrest one of us, arrest the other Minister and Ven for contempt of court.
For using Minister Emma Van.
Yeah, for using Minister and Ven to lay a claim.
Can we do it over Zoom? Because I'll arrest you.
No, we will not. We're going to frog march you. No, yeah, you're going to frog march them straight to the Queen's Bench and serve them up to Justice Stein to make sure that nobody's in contempt of her wonderful order. And soon as though the naughty policy enforcers won't perform, and although have we got universal law freedom on here? Are you on? Oh, is he typing? Was that you typing? I can't see the screen. Oh, that's all I've got.
No.
No.
Yeah, judging by the names, it doesn't look like he's using that name.
No, he can't actually speak. He can't speak because he's doing his slave job, which is security, and he is very kindly offered. He's converted some of his slave tokens into quite a large dispatch of honey. Some of it has got stuck at France, and then England won't let it in. They said it's got coronavirus.
Have we not got no? Oops, sorry. Have we not got no conveyances?
Can I just wait? Can you just wait until I finish what I'm saying? So because of this situation, and because we would like you all to get on a plane and exemplify that COVID cannot be used to unlawfully incarcerate you and etc. so forth, get on a plane, come over here, pick your honey up and go back.
Oh, I'd love to do that.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I'd love to do that.
Now, it's the reason why I brought universal law into it is that he's already stumped up from his conversion of his slavery, working for a security company, for the honey. So it's all sitting, the rest of it is sitting here.
And he's also offered to invest more of his energy in kindness credits conversions for handcuffs, printing materials, and printer toners and things like that. So Universal Law Freedom is the email address that you want. And if you just let him know with a kindness credit claim form, and then he's also got one of these Richter machines that, and that's available for you 1191 because I need you back on 2 legs.
I hear you. I hear you.
How are you feeling?
A bit better than I have been. Like the last 2-3 days, I've been feeling a bit better than I've been in a little while. So yeah, things are. That's why I put Facebook messages up and that saying thanks to everybody because I do feel a bit better than I have done.
How long have you been on the antidote and the remedies that we sent you?
About a week now. About a week and a few days.
Okay.
But yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I spoke to him this morning.
definitely felt different. Definitely feel different than I did.
Good. I needed to feel awesome again. So so I told him he's like, where do you want me to invest this? And I said, right, the first one is 1191, getting back in fighting form. And apparently the woman who had the machine, she's now got enough money to buy her own, so he feels all right about asking her for it back. So that's going to be available for you in the next few days as well, but you do need to communicate with one another. I can't do it all.
Yep.
I don't want to be in
fine.
the middle with it all. So
yeah, sweet.
You know, and you all make such wonderful offers of exchange. The problem that we've got obviously is the mechanics of doing it online. That's not there because of what happened with Global Fusion. So you have to do it face to face and by email and even over the phone, you know, and don't be shy. Everybody's like, I want to help, I want to do this, I want to do this. And because you're free to do it, because you haven't got all of those liabilities that have been bogging you down. So which is wonderful. So I just need to know how many sleeping bags I need, because we're all going to camp out in the catechinacy in the restoration. A little be grateful, and we'll have fires and that. And you can see.
I can bring a sleeping bag. I can bring a couple.
I'm kidding. I need to know your numbers. You will bring your own sleeping bag.
As long as there's a mozzie net, I'm all right.
Oh, well, actually, you need to bring one of them yourself. Because the mozzies are making it rather uncomfortable down there. Or we could just we could go to the kindness credit claim pot, because I want to get to this next. When I get to these other things, you know, once we've nailed this, how to rebut this undue process, these are the most important things, is creating this, creating the alternative and putting our energy into that. So we can go to the kindness credit kindness credit community pot, and we can put a claim form in for the things that we need, is what I'm saying. So there aren't as many funds in there that they're supposed to be, because people think that they put their 10% in and then jog on. It's supposed to be a 10% of monthly saving of what you've saved, because obviously you're still getting that 90% back that you haven't then put into the system. It's called a tithe. Have we finished with this? Name of claimants, legal representative firm, not applicable, or you can put a Porito. Or you can put Minister of Event Universal Law Community Trust in there, because you are the name of the claimant. It's not saying that Minister of Event's laying the claim. It's the name of so the claimant is assigned the consent of the responsibility, let's say, to Minister of Event to represent them. You see that?
Yeah.
If signed on behalf of you give position or office held. So if you put a Porito in there, and you put Universal Law Community Trust in there, and then you would just put admin.
Okay.
Now there is a template of one that we completed for 1799 up. That got us issued a claim reference number within 24 hours. No comeback, no
can't do it because of this, can't do it because of that, like we've had before. So that's the one that you need to use as a baseline, let's say. And like you said, fisherman, you obviously put, if you want to, details of claim. A habeas corpus doesn't need explaining above and beyond that somebody is unlawfully incarcerated. That's it. It's up to the party who has incarcerated them to prove why they're in there, not your job to explain why they shouldn't be there. Just remember that.
Yeah, so keep it as, it doesn't have to be long at all. If you're unlawfully detained, that's enough.
That's it. You're unlawfully detained. That's it. If you think about what, split the sentence up, they are lawfully detained, unlawfully detained. If they were lawfully detained, there would be a victim and there would be harm and loss. Am I gonna bother trying to get a court case heard if I know that there's a victim involved?
No.
No. That's their job anyway. That's Crown Prosecution's job to stand surety to the legal fiction, accredited legal fiction that they've been instructed to restore the rights to. So, again, just be aware that, and based on what you heard, what we've seen up until now, the more information that you give them, the more ways out you're giving them for them to misinterpret what it is that you say.
Right. I'm glad you said that, because I've put quite a lot of things on my claim. So I should just basically.
That's why I said it.
Okay, so I'm just gonna keep mine simple, keep it simple, sweet, right?
Yeah, it's really the details of the claim. There is no victim. If there is no victim, there is no crime. Therefore, they are unlawfully incarcerated.
Mm.
That's it. Don't
Absolutely.
cast your pearls before swine. The reason why the ones that I put together upon is to give them all of that information, to connect all of the cases together. The reason why I did that is because we needed to be able to refer to the fact that we had brought them into the Ministry of Remedy based on the initiation of that HN 008 and P122 case, which is Hilton Park.
I just thought that the more I had on there, the more ammunition, the better. That was my understanding, but obviously I'm wrong.
It works two ways, doesn't it? Like I just said, it's.
Yeah, that's right.
I did it for a reason. The reason why I did it was because I knew we were going to record them, and I needed to be able to rebut the presumption that we were, that this is all part of the same package. It's not something separate to Hillston Park. I wanted to bring Hillston Park into it specifically. It's a little bit different for you because you're going in there. I mean, this could be classed as premeditated. I'm going in there. Oh, why? It's premeditation. But in the positive, instead of premeditating and presuming that I've got to go down there and commit this fraud like we talked about before, I'm premeditating that because I'm not going to commit the fraud that you want me to commit, you're going to unlawfully incarcerate me, and I've already premeditated that. So what you've exemplified there is that you're not an incapacitated legal minor. You know exactly that much. Even if you don't know anything more than that.
I know that much. Yeah, that's right.
That is more than enough.
Right.
I think it was why, Ginge, that we did put a lot on because of your particular case. It just felt the more that was on there,
the stronger it was. it had
Yeah,
more weight. That was the case.
in a way, yeah, because of your specific conditions, then it just felt, you know, to
But
fill
again,
it up,
sorry.
Christopher
But-
James always says when the truth is present, very few words are required.
Yeah, very true. Well,
Good.
it is. Well, it is. No matter what. The thing is, yeah, there is no direct any living being harm, loss, or injury.
So why are
Yeah,
you
you've caused
trying to
nothing. You've caused no.
why are you trying to defend it on a piece of paper then?
No, because I just felt that there's more that was needed to I don't know, just to put in the box. I don't know.
That
I
because
didn't really
Quantity.
when I read the document, it was like you wanted your court case. What you've got to comprehend is that there isn't going to be no court case once this habeas corpus is served unless there is a victim. So
Yeah,
the
okay. Well, there isn't
content,
one.
they're not interested in the matter. Okay.
Right.
There are three things: victim, evidence, what's the next one?
Liability.
Two things: the victim and so it's bring forth the body, the victim, the claimant. So the victim. No, there's two things: victim and the evidence you have to bring in.
So was it victim and liability?
Evidence.
No evidence.
Proof of claim.
Yeah, proof of claim.
Yeah.
Proof of claim.
Yeah.
And it's beyond. Is it beyond? Is the burden of proof too great for you to prove that COVID exists? Well, it looks like it, according to her. So, I mean, this is what she's done. It's massive because so the burden of proof that Minister Emma Venn also is too great because it's the same thing. It is just a belief. She told you that the whole system that is built on belief. It is what you believe. And so we're more than happy, like I said, to take our paperwork and go to the customs and take that burden of proof that it's you and your administrative system that is laying the claim that COVID exists in order to unlawfully incarcerate me, not us. And we're more than happy to do that, aren't we? Like we just said, we've got a resounding, we've got a resounding affirmative, let's say, for doing that. So going to the solution now. Does anybody want to ask any questions about the mechanics of laundering credit files?
One thing I really wanted to know, it's off topic, is how do I secure my children?
Well, your children are secured by your assignment of consent already.
Okay.
And we surrendered the birth certificates as well. So
yeah, you've got the live-born records. You can serve those up to the Rolls building. You can serve them on the registrars.
Like where? So the live-born record, did you say?
Yeah, you've got. Didn't I do some live-born records for you?
I don't believe so, but you might have done, or maybe I haven't.
I've been doing lots of live-born records because this is where we're going to scale this up now. This is the next step.
But you probably have. That's probably me.
I haven't seen anything about a live-born record.
Right. So those of you that, first of all, there is a template. Let's have a look. Let's see if I can find this here. I'm gonna. I'll have to stop sharing. They've got people. It's got children's names on them. That's why I haven't got a blank one. I've looked earlier on. The live-born record has been used for getting passports with, and
it's in place of really the evidence applied for on the N206. Is it N206? And where people were going to the doctors and getting the evidence applied for and filled out, and still authenticated by them, it's a rebuttal. What you're doing is you're getting them to stamp their own document that you do not. You can no longer be presumed to be a dead thing walking. Now, a lot of people came back over the years and said, well, you know, it's their document, can't we have our own? Okay, and the same thing with the warranty card. You decide. I'm more than happy to knock one up for you as a template. Here you go. So we've got live-born records, such as the one that we did for Minister of India, and many other children as well. This rebuts the presumption about the birth certificate. So anybody who wants one of those, just send it over. What I need from you is really, I need you to do it for yourselves. Just let me know. I'll send you over a template that you can edit, so it's already filled out. Duplicate it and then add in your relevant information in there, and you'll do your evidence. You're evidencing your life, and you're evidencing that your children are alive as Minister MFM. So it's me, myself, and I all the time, which is another reason why I laugh when people say it's a hierarchy system. What? And me, myself, and I, and me, myself, and I, and we're all me, myself, and I, or me, myself, and me. Sorry, I shouldn't say I. So and use it, serve it at the doctors. How do you sever the contract with the doctor? You call the doctor and say, hello, I'm moving out of the country. Because if you say that you're moving to another jurisdiction within their country, they will only change all medical records and assign them to another doctor, because that is another cartel, as you all know. So the reason why it's important to sever the contract with the doctor is because they only need 3 signatures to remove a child and to presume, because the child's already been classed as abandoned property through the birth certificate, peacefully surrendered in collateral, and they've claimed your child as theirs, which is why they then think that they can appoint a court guardian. You are that child guardian, and nobody, don't let anybody assume that title, because it's the court guardian's signature, the doctor, and the social services that will be used to steal your children with, if you refuse to have, if you refuse to perform any obligation as being debt slave. Already we've seen the repercussions coming back from people who have come to us, you know, right at the last minute. They're in a terrible state, and they found us because the seat of convenience is not convenient anymore. When it comes to this, so because they've used words like unalienable, then they've turned around and said, well, have a mental health assessment, no problem. Because you alienable, unalienable rights, do they not talk about that in the Constitution? So whoever wrote the Constitution, they also, if you're determining that because I've used these words, then, and I need a mental health assessment, then you better bring them with me. It's our standard. What you've got to remember is that they're saying they've got a standard that applies. The rule of law, go and listen to the rule of law video on MFN channel. The rule of law, so there is one law, nobody's above it. So their standard is that there is no law. There's just this system of presumption. But it has to have a standard. It has to fit in all situations for it to be valid. But because the administrative system is so ambiguous,
it can never be acceptable as either, I mean, legal, it is legal by its own definition of what legal is, but when you hold it up to the law, it's completely unlawful. And so it's the people who presume and their presumption that makes the court a presumption. So if we all just human and got our shit together and did our due diligence, then we would find that actually everything that we've been come and ask you, is it legal? No, don't ask me, is it legal? That's not my definition.
Is it lawful? Should be.
Exactly. I'm more interested if it's lawful than legal.
At the same time, Minister, like we arrested. What I still don't get to today, yeah, is if they were acting in a lawful capacity that day, yeah, at Hillston, then if someone stripped them of their, if they strip them of their them being a what's it called, a public servant, yeah, to now being a private like a private civilian, whatever you want to call it, private, yeah,
Corporation.
yeah. And then if I said to him, right, you're under arrest, now he's not even a copper anymore, he's now a civilian. What made him think that he was above the law to then resist arrest and arrest someone of who's standing on universal law? I still don't get how all of them didn't see that they were doing something wrong, including the superior officer, because obviously he wasn't standing on common law, because he didn't even give a shit about his job. He was just there being a bailiff that day, and as well as the riot police at the house as well, from what I heard. But they just, yeah, the whole system it's just fucked.
Because it's unlawful. Imagine a real constable standing there doing that. He would have arrested those armed intruders. He would have arrested the judge. He would have arrested. That's why you know that they're not really there for the benefit. They're not lawful, because you look around you, the system that we're in, the society that we live in is lawless.
When I went up to the policeman at that G7 gig.
Hang on, sorry, Fisherman, let me just finish with what 1191 was saying there. These people who swear an oath and put on a uniform and misinterpret and misrepresent the law are the ones now that they are losing their own belief in their own shit, because they now no longer convince themselves that what they're doing is lawful, because people like us have gone and done what is lawful. We're not the ones breaking the law. We're the ones upholding it. We're the ones standing surety to the people and their rights and their assets. While these goons are running around in uniform saying, oh yeah, well, I know you're right, but my pension, but they might come after me, but, well, if it's a but, then you should not be wearing a uniform. You need to take it off right now, and you need to go and stack the shelves in Tesco's. So going back to your question as to why was they thought that they could do that, is because they presumed you, and they presumed wrong. They got such a kick in the teeth. If what you did was unlawful and that was really a policeman, you would be doing 5 to 7.
Oh yeah, I know that.
So
And that's why they're locking themselves.
Sorry?
That's why they're locking themselves in the court now.
Exactly. They're actually taking themselves to court. Somebody has said, I don't see anybody arresting anybody. They arrested themselves. They went in to their court building and locked the door. Did you not secure the criminal in the building where they needed to be, just by you standing there and doing that 1 to 8?
Yeah, mate.
You're damn right.
Because remember what happened a few weeks prior to that is just what 1191 described there. They believed, because they assumed you, that they could do this to you. They found out as a police force, as a system, as a national police force, just what it is that there are people in their community who will not accept this and have taken the steps which is required under the law to know the difference between the two. And that's the choice that I was talking to you about, fishermen, that, you know, it's beyond that point now where people say, well, I didn't know. Yeah, okay, now you do. I've shown you all the evidence there. And it's down to you to practice this for yourself, to show it, to convince yourself what's true and what's not, because you've presumed that because your mom and your dad and everybody else say it's true, it must be true. Well, what if we were all duped? Does it not look like our country is operated by terrorists? I mean, is that still too, you know, science fiction like for people to comprehend?
No, absolutely, it is. It has been hijacked by terrorists.
Well, it's been like this.
It's been that for a long way, yeah.
Well, 2,000 years at least. So,
through their spells, isn't it? I was doing a little bit of reading earlier about just the pure corruption of the English language, and it all makes sense now in the way that the Navy was so dominant to force the English language around the world, because it's the language of spells.
So, yeah, language of commerce, and it's a very good research and forum is the Golden Web. If you watch that, as many hours of it, and also for those who like a little bit of spirit science, is another one, a very good one, that I've used in you know, with my daughter here, as she was growing up. And now she's not interested. I just said to her today, what are you going to do when the lights go out? So she said, why are the lights going to go out? So I said, well, they'll go out and they'll only come back on if you've got a chip in your hand. I said, oh yeah, all right. She said, oh, I'm going to go down there and light a fire. So I said, do you know how to light a fire? So she said, yeah, I can do it with 2 rocks. So I'm standing there thinking, oh God, yeah, I need to take her down there and then do this. I said, do you know how to make bread? So she said, yeah. So she gave me the recipe for bread. So with that, I went down there on my own, and she went up to see a friend. So, you know, it is time to start to get back to source. So this is what I wanted to really have more of a conversation about, was a Porito. So I made a document today that I sent out to everybody, and I put it on Facebook, for introducing the Porito to businesses. 1367, is it all right if I talk about this particular company house filing with the obviously data disclosed, but the scenario?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so there's a scenario where we've got an accountant who has been considered to be a friend, and every business believes that my accountant is my friend. He helps me save tax, and you know, he shows me the loopholes. He does all the things that I don't have to. Again, if I sign my consent to an agent, it turns out, of HMRC Crown Corporation, to pimp me and my energy and my business and my exchanges in slavery into HMRC's pot. And he calls me his mate. Now, I can't stand them, and I really can't. They're up there with lawyers and doctors, which we were supposed to be having a meeting yesterday with lawyers and doctors, and they failed to attend. I wonder why. I'm looking forward to this interaction with this particular
accountant who been put on notice. The business has been assigned. So how do we help these businesses? You create, what you're doing here is you're creating a tax haven for them. And this applies whether you're a sole trader, limited company, it doesn't matter what. Now, when you've done your assignment of consent, by default, all of your asset is already assigned into your trust anyway, into your hands. That will go, what goes with that obviously is your any company registration number, any asset that you've been using to support yourself and sustain yourself, which you have a right to do. There is absolutely no obligation to pay tax unless we are at war, if you read it. And it is also a breach of the Anti-Terrorism Act to fund terrorists.
Yeah.
Now, you can prove that the tax that is taken funds Credit Suisse. You can also prove that Credit Suisse fund Halliburton and Halliburton make the weapons. You can also prove that it funds DuPont and Monsanto, and the definition of terrorism couldn't be any greater, really. So in order for you to help restore the rights of how we interact and what used to be known as trade with one another, as we exchange with one another, and we reserve our rights from being used to credit terrorism with, at this point, you would be using their legislation back at them and saying, well, you said this, right, like we did, you said COVID couldn't be proved. There you go. You said Minister and Bank can't be used to their claim. But so when it gets to the point where they're saying, they're screaming down the phone, you've got a different definition to us. Well, that's true, but this is your definition. This is your boss defining this. This is the HM government writing the legislation that says that you are guilty under the Anti-Terrorism Act of funding and supporting terrorisms for the following criteria. One of them being that if you credit somebody that you have not got a contract with and you don't know where that money is going, then you have not got to fund them. And so you can all use that. Every single individual, whether it's council tax, tax in the shop, HMRC tax, I don't know who it is I'm paying, so I'm reserving my rights. And any tax liability has already been paid into this account over here in the currency I use in kindness credits. So when we went on to some businesses inside Company's House to update the records, this is a very funny scenario. This is why I'm telling you this. Normally, it's just straightforward. Go in there, put Minister in that Company's House, and as a significance, the part of the significant control. That is immediately giving them notification of the assignment of consent. This particular business, the creditors of it now retired, had already started to learn little bits about what was going on and not presented the books. So gone in there to present the books, and they haven't got kindness credits in the drop-down box. So how can I, when you go in there, you can see as a filer, that they want you to tell you what currency you're using. Well, I can't go any further, can I? Because you haven't given me the option to determine the currency I use. So when you go and you see these businesses and you explain to them how this tax haven comes about, first of all, your asset is already assigned to the trust, so your asset is no longer considered to be one of the counter. So when we dissolve this shit show that you've been crediting, the presumption that your asset is Crown Corporation and the Vatican's is rebutted. There's nothing in there. Why? Because I've already done what you do an asset transfer list, give it a value in kindness credits, and you simply account for that in your ledger book. Nobody else. There's no third party. There's nobody doing this you know, some people saying, oh God, I've given my business away. You've given it back to you yourself as me, Minister Ramadan. And so you've already got the orders saying Minister Ramadan can't be used to lay claims with, so they can't lay a claim against Minister Ramadan anyway. And even if they do, what's going to happen is Universal Law
Contempt
Company
of court.
Trust turns up. What are they? Yes. When no one tell us, what are they?
In contempt of court.
They certainly are. And that, my lovelies, is the big bow tied in a knot with a cherry on top of the securitization of Her Majesty's government. I thank you very much. Voila. Now,
Good night.
oh, yeah, good night, Vienna. Good night, Vienna, yeah. Ta-da. So, this scenario is very funny. So we've got this accountant waddling around in the background. He's already tried to talk them people out doing it, and oh, you're going to be in big trouble, and they're going to take your house, and blah, 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 which is, you know, imagine them like the police saying, if you don't give us your fingerprints, you're never going to see the light of day again. So it's the same. Their livelihood has been supported by unjust enrichment, which is very serious. And I can't wait to explain that in succinct terms to this individual. Now, purely because he's all right. So, okay, even the accountants don't really know what they're doing. Let's give them that. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. But this particular individual, well, he was having the benefit of the doubt, that we give to everybody, of course, because otherwise we wouldn't be universal law if we assumed that you were all guilty beforehand. So he's exemplified himself in a very obvious way, because he he sent a bill for his very kind work that he's given as a service to this family trust, and wants to know when it's going to get paid. He then contacted the creditors and said that I see that your company, that you applied to have your company struck off. Well, actually, when you look, the striking off of that company was already set up by HMRC, well, by Companies House, because the creditors had not done their paperwork and uploaded it. So HMRC, right, or Companies House or HM government, whatever, have already gone to write off the company, compulsory strike it off, and he's got wind of this. Why, if you've severed your contract with that accountant, why is he still? He's got no interest. He's not an interested party any longer in the affairs, my private affairs. How does he know what's going on, and why are you interested? Where is your certificate of participation in this, or your assignment of consent? You haven't got one. Very, very serious. You are trying to imply that you have got an authority to act in any of this matter, and you haven't. So we'd like to see that, but we'd also like to know, how did you know? Because he rang up and said somebody's objected to it. Now, here's a little bit of background. When you object to striking off of a company, go and have a look at a company. Do it yourself if you don't believe me. Go and find a company that's going to be struck off. Go and just simply send an email to Companies House and state that you object, and they will send you back the email that we've shared already, and it goes into detail about, would you like us to inform the party who it was? And we put, yes, you can tell them it was Canenus who did this, Canenus being nobody in Greek, who blinded the Cyclops. And Canenus did this to them. So they're looking for Canenus. Now, so the accountant, is the one who has applied, because only he would know whether somebody had objected to the dissolving of that company or not. So what he has done then, he has then misinterpreted, misrepresented himself again and said that it must be HMRC. Well, actually, it is HMRC. You, as an agent of HMRC, is the one who has applied to stop that company being struck off. Now, look at what has happened there. He's done the same thing that we did. We went in and stopped UK government limited from dissolving itself. That's how most of you found out about all of this. And so what he doesn't comprehend clearly is that there is nothing in that credit file to secure anymore. In the same way that the government understands, the administrative court, which is why she asked, where is the bond that's going to underwrite it? Because she hasn't got any bonds to underwrite diddly squat with, and that's why they want you to do it for them. And she couldn't underwrite it because she didn't have an assignment of consent of a legal fiction to do it with. So the same applies now with Her Majesty's government as a corporation that's been secured. All of the asset has already been assigned. Now that's why we came up with the COVID. So now we can get everybody to assign their consent back to the legal fiction using the vaccination with the chip serial number, assign your rights back to them through biohacks to Icon Capital Group to then take the shares and equitable rights once more. So it's not Bonacanta's done with, the Vatican's done. So now we've got Bill Gates as God instead. And that's why they can't do that anymore, because of what you guys did. They can't use COVID as a title to assume the assets of the people with, unless the people go in their unsecured mind and accept the vaccination and assign their consent to the chip. So it's, yes, on paper it's done, but it actually has to be done as a deed by each individual. And that is why I've been saying go and knock on the doors. If you haven't got a kindness credit shop in your community, or people don't know about this, it is only down to you. Don't go as Universal Law Community Trust if you feel that the lashback that we've had with certain websites and propaganda is detrimental. People are looking for something that they recognise. First of all, remember, what is the first thing you do is recognise, relate, assimilate, and action. This is written in your Minister Your Mind training manual. If anybody hasn't got a copy of that, then let me know and I'll send you one. And so what you're doing is when you go into these businesses, so it's very simply today, just pick the phone up and made a recording. And I just picked at random an organic food supplier, wholesaler. I didn't even look where it was actually. And made a simple appointment over the phone. Hello, this is, I'm calling you from Universal Law Community Trust. We have a company that is called Aporito Limited, so that they can then see and check, their definition of a standard, or it's a bona fide company. It's registered at Company's House. It's got a registration number. It's just like me. What did that individual do? They recognised something and they related it back to themselves. Now you're going to assimilate that for them. What is that? What does it what does that mean to you? Well, it means that I've got a rather large community here who are interested in investing in your business, and we want to come and talk to you about it. Would you like me to send you over an email with a little overview of what it is that we're doing, or what we're going to come and talk to you about if you're interested? And who do I send it to, please? Very simple. Yes, here's the email and the website. Thank you very much. And all you have to do is ping that Aporito surety services intro across to every single one of your contact boxes. There's the welcome to Universal Law Community Trust. There's introducing kindness credits in your community. I don't believe that any one of you has sent any of those documents out. To any business, or have you shared any of those documents on everybody on your contact list?
No.
Not yet.
I don't mean the one that you got today, but any of them.
I did get in touch with one company to try and help them out. They'd sort of openly admitted that they was in financial trouble, and I did try and contact them, but they were pretty dismissive of it. You know, they didn't really want to know, and I was genuinely ringing up. It was my first attempt, admittedly, and it was a few months ago, but now I've got some more.
I wouldn't do it again. Don't do much speaking. You don't need to do much speaking. Just say, hello, it's just a courtesy call, let you know that we're the secured party creditors now, and we're able to discharge your liabilities for you. I'd like to send you an email over so you know a little bit more about what it is. Can I just have your email address and let the documents do the talking?
Brilliant. I was in like an oddball shop in Penzance yesterday, and I was speaking to the two staff there, stroke owners. I don't know whether they own the business or not, but a nice young couple. And I gave them a leaflet, and everyone that I speak to, and they're prepared to give me a little bit of time. You can clearly see that what you're saying to them is, I'm getting it across in a manner that it makes them understand, because you can see it's clearly blowing their minds. So
when you give them a leaflet, take their details and keep a note of them. Start to build your database of who you've contacted, any follow-up calls, and make a journey planner.
Okay, I did leave on my flyers. I did put fisherman M event or found, well, my local area. I said local M event, fisherman M event, proton email, so they can get directly back in contact me if they want to know more.
Let me just explain something to you, because you're not trained in marketing, are you?
No.
Most of you are not. There's proactive and there's reactive, and what you're doing is when you give somebody a leaflet, there's 1% response rate anyway with a leaflet. When you give somebody a leaflet and ask them for a card, then you've done an exchange, haven't you?
Yes.
Now, if you stand there, you go as a customer. Always go as a customer, and always go.
I did.
If you do it face to face, you talk. So there's one thing that's face to face practical. We're talking about very simply. I haven't left my house. I've opened up the email that I've been sent. I've opened up my contact list, and I've just copied blind BCC'd and CCC'd all of my contact list into the email that I've received myself. I haven't had to do anything except press send. That's it. That's what every single individual. Can you imagine all these people who've been with us over these years who've disappeared and said, I don't know what to do with my 5 hours? If we just did that, then this would not have happened. These people would have been nailed already, to the wall of a cell door somewhere, in a nice way, with, kindness nails. They're nailing themselves. This is the point. And that's that we don't have to resort to any of that. So then
you've got that document.
What, Dov?
Have you got that document in a Word format or something? Because you said your O's are spasmodic, because half of the O's are missing. I noticed there's a few sort of spell things.
I don't know. No, when we got this laptop, the bright spark that fixed it decided to pick the letter O to ping the keyboard out. And so it finally had enough. I must have been using O too much. And now I've got the plastic bit pinged off and I can't find the top part. And now I've got the little button underneath that's come off on my finger. And so that's now floating around somewhere close to where it should be, but not quite. So I've got a bit of an issue with the letter O at the moment.
So would you like us to proofread it and send it back to you and with the Dr. Owen?
That's what I was going to do, yeah.
Yeah, I would love for you to put the letter O in there where it
Yeah, I'd looked at that because you keep on talking about using your own glossary, and I was wondering, is this a way? Is this some peculiar glossary term that you're using?
Northern speak. It's Northern speak.
No, there's
Just
loads.
T instead of TO.
That is
not-
definitely not correct. I object to that one. I
We-
object.
It's more like E by gum, not O.
Or Eki, bump.
So yeah, I've got a little bit of an issue with Omicron, so which is little me at the moment on the keyboard. So yes, thank you for your support and kindness in exchange, and get that.
You just let me know which documents you want me to go through, or do you want me to go through each one of them and you know, try and proofread it and try and because I'm not trying to impose that I know anything more than you do.
As long as you don't use no, just put the letter O in, and you've got my consent to.
Just a spell, that's all.
You're not adding to the administration of the document if you just add the letter O.
Okay.
In the wrong.
Oh no.
Oh no, you got it wrong. In the wrong place. So yeah, it's things like it's the punctuation things that people come back to me about, because I write like I speak, and as far as I'm concerned, take a breath where you like. It's all part of self-determination. And if you're running out of breath or it doesn't make sense, and it's also written like that to make people read it twice.
It definitely makes me have to read it 3 or 4 times.
I love it. Great, it's working.
No wonder they pushed schools so hard, so everyone was used to spelling. It's no wonder that must have all been part of the plan.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
But then it is the plan, isn't it? It's to get you all to conform to one set of definitions, and that's why I love Greek so much, because it's and when you learn the Greek, we were thinking about doing a webinar to I don't know if you're interested or not. If people are, then we'll facilitate one. To talk about the mythology. We're just going through writing the family tree on the wall in the black space that I've left painted on one of the walls in the restoration, from Kronos onwards, and how it's all connected to build the picture up, because people here obviously were educated with this information up until just recently with Soros changing the curriculum, but it gives you a whole different picture. Really does.
I'd like to join that.
I was going to ask the director of Laboratory if they would do it, but they would over the weekend. But they've got to go up to sort the rest out up there, and we need what we've got there. What we need here now. You're ahead of the game now because you've got one for COVID. I've been screaming at everybody here to do this for 1.5 years. So when they came to me very full of themselves today to say, oh, well, this has happened and now I've got to go and do this. Well, I just looked at them and I walked off. I just said, you've had 1.5 years to do this. And now you're going to do it because you know what? You can't go in your shop to buy your shitty food without your vaccine. Now you're going to do it. So this thing, the what we were talking about before, one way or another, we are going to be using kindness credits. You're going to be using it as rocks, just light your fire, like Angelina, or you're going to use it in exchanges, or you're going to have the chip. So it's rocks or chips time, guys. And it really is important for us, knowing what we do know, to get it out there to people, and the only way to do that is have one in your pocket. And so every single time that you go, if you're going to Tesco's and places like that, then you shouldn't even be on the call. Shouldn't. Because you're not the secure party creditor of universal law if you're crediting and funding them in that way. I won't go to the shop anyway. I'm down there eating eggs and tomatoes. The lizards left me. I've now got a fight in my garden with a lizard that keeps coming and biting the bottom of my tomatoes. And I just thought, do you know what? Everybody said, oh, you should do this to it and do that to it. And I thought, no, do you know, it's share of the harvest. So I did spray it with the hose pipe yesterday.
Well, all my black currants yesterday, every single bloody one of them. Just really pissed off.
What did a lizard?
No, the birds. The birds.
Yeah, birds in England.
We've got newts, loads of newts, but no, not lizards.
This is like a great big, not a bearded one, but like a big long green one, not like a chameleon. I've never seen one like this before, and it's got like an orangey tail. But anyway, with the battle of the lizards, and so going and doing this, getting connected together, going to the farmers. The farmers are our target. They're absolutely screwed down to the ground with NFU and the government's contracts that they've got to perform by, and they need relieving from that by being given the whole package, the tax, the haven, the assignment of the right of use of their farm granted back to them, liability free. And we've even got the people who've offered to come and help them grow the food in there. There's absolutely no reason why we have a government. There's not. We are the creditors of that. And if we just pull away from it and say, right, okay, where's the food coming from? Asda. Okay, how did it get into Asda? Well, Associated Dairies and Walmart created legislation.
A lot of produce has come from Chernobyl lately.
Yeah, fucking hell.
No, hang on a minute. Hang on. I would go and check your research about Chernobyl. There's some very interesting information about Chernobyl and the hoax that it was.
A nuclear disaster.
Yeah.
Everything's a bloody hoax.
A hoax. People live it. There's been people living there.
Yeah, wildlife.
Yeah, I've watched that.
Yeah,
I've watched it.
I've seen them. There were a lady that, as a child, witnessed all the people.
They refused to leave.
Local areas.
Yeah, they refused to leave it. And they're not. That their skin didn't peel off, and because but if you can watch two planes fly into two buildings, then and realize that another building falls down on its own, then the chances are the rest of this shit that they've been feeding you isn't true either. So I would just put a big circle around it and write it off as that. All I know is that I can't trust anything that comes from that source. That's it.
Absolutely.
We don't have to go in there and eke it out and try and understand what it is and how it works and all of that. It just is without standing. What do we mean when we talk about it? Has it got any standing in my mind? And more importantly now, where do I stand? Where can I stand no matter what? In any circumstance.
It has no validity in a sense. It's nothing, is it? Because it doesn't apply.
Exactly, nothing. You said it there. It's a nothing. No thing. They have got you believing you are a no thing. What is that? Nihilism. Who created nihilism? Well, we do. We create it. We believe we are no thing. We create nihilism. We don't know what to believe. So we believe in no thing. We believe in something that has been projected onto us and defines us, then define ourselves as no things, and then say, oh, I'm a socialist, or I'm a capitalist. No, you're not. You're a nihilist. Why am I a nihilist? I've just told you I believe in something. You believe you're a no thing first, so everything after that is no thing, is it?
And nothing out of nothing, yeah.
So, just logic all the time just is really the order of the day, I would say, with a side of rocks. And you're all good to go. So there was just something else that I shouldn't have written down, but it was in the back of my mind. We've done it, which was the coming over here and collecting your exchange, really. Your energy has gone into this, and here you are to accept your share of the harvest. Which
Yeah,
is
when it was coming.
can't wait. Okay, so we'll sort that out. I'm going to stop recording.